Hi everyone, this is Saeed from CarTechTalk.com, and today we're going to do a review of the 2003 BMW 330i sedan infotainment system. And it's its basic system, not a lot to it, not a lot of options, but let's get to it and cover the basics. So what we have here is basically it's a basic AM/FM CD audio system. This particular one does have an auxiliary input adapter that's installed from a dealer. We have a 12 speaker audio system with 3 speakers in each of the front doors, so that's kind of unusual that you see an actual mid-range and tweeter. That includes the 2 subwoofers in the back deck. Now what you have here is a pretty simplified system that's a single line display, although it does have a somewhat segmented, and we'll turn it on so you could see. This display, you get your main information such as your radio station. This does have RDS, so it is displaying station name information and song information, things like that. The secondary display is actually a display for these 2 buttons that, as you can see, they're not actually labeled, unlike these other presets. These 2 are kind of changeable depending on what source you're on, and I'll show you that in a second with the CD. But you don't have any other touch screens. Everything is actual hard buttons, which means you actually do have your knob for radio volume, which is always appreciated, and you have dedicated buttons for seeking as well. Here we have buttons for your audio adjustment, so your bass, treble, things like that, as well as an audio level adjustment for the auxiliary input too. Now you notice the way this is actually laid out. This is sort of like BMW fashion of everything has to have very functional. So in this area here you have your audio adjustment for volume and sound. Then in the center area you have the adjustment for your actual source that you're listening to. And then the final section, if you will, is the adjustment for modifying that source, changing it to something else. So we mentioned AM/FM. There is no HD radio, just AM/FM. But with that, you do have presets. You have 3 presets for each set. So you could see right now it's FMA for like automatic one. There's 2, and then there's FM2 and back to A. So essentially that gives you a total of 3 sets of presets for the buttons. When you go into CD mode, you'll see these customizable buttons, hard buttons. You see now this button becomes random, whereas before on AM/FM it was to enable RDS. And then auxiliary input. The auxiliary input located below the radio near the heated seat button, as you'd see. That's your only source for listening to MP3s. There's no other way to get it in this car, no other digital audio means, because this CD player does not support MP3 audio. The system does have optional CD changer, optional satellite radio, but you install those and you will lose your auxiliary input. The system does have Bluetooth audio optional as well. That's all dealer installed, and they will put it in the center console area of the button to actually do the pairing. We don't have that, so I can't go through and show you that. To the HVAC controls, it's all pretty basic, separate buttons for each thing. You got 3 separate buttons at the side that will indicate what vent you actually are on. So if you wanted to go on the main vent, defrost, or heater vent, you can switch those over. I'll turn on the car here, and we'll actually see this. When you select the vent, you'll see that it will light up. You can actually have all 3 on, just 1, just 2, whatever you prefer, which is really nice way to configure it because not all cars have that today. Of course, temperature and fan controls, all pretty simple. The auto mode. This is, of course, your standard auto mode that will control your temp, vent, as well as fan speed. However, the difference is that you can manually switch out one thing while keeping the others in auto. So for instance, I can say I want to control temperature and fan automatically, but I want the vents to be a specific thing. That keeps fan auto and temp auto and gives me my manual control of the vents. Again, something you don't see in most cars. Most cars, when you go into manual mode for anything, you completely lose the auto climate control functions. And then it has essentially, for defrost, this is actually like a quick preset for defrost that's common today, that you'll see in a lot of cars. Defrost and AC is actually separate, so something you don't always see in the high-end cars is a separate button to actually engage the AC compressor. And of course, recirc, the auto mode that this is on right now, will automatically close off that vent to recirculate interior air only, or you can manually do it, or just have it completely open. BMW says there is a sensor that monitors particles in the air and can determine when it's appropriate to close off that vent. Okay, so that was our quick review of the 2003 BMW 330i infotainment system. As you can see, overall, not anything dramatically fancy, but you got to remember we're talking 2003, so about 10 years old. Well, so this is Saeed from CarTechTalk. Enjoy the ride.